Welcome, everyone, from wherever you're watching us from. This is ProD Podcast, a place where lives are empowered, educated, and informed on how to live better. Joining us today is Mr. Abel. Welcome, sir, on our program.
Thank you very much for having me.
So today I just wanted to have a topic with you that has to do with the teenagers. But before we go there, maybe some viewers would love to know actually what profession are you in, or how do we, and in what category do we put you in?
Thank you very much for having me. I'm a database analyst by profession, but I've been in the youth ministry practically all my life, okay, working with kids and youth across all classes and ages. Because as a teacher, which is a gift, more of a gift God gave to me, I've been able to interact with people at different levels. So my passion is teaching, but my profession is a database administrator.
Thank you for joining us today. And there are some few topics that I wanted us to cover today. And one among them is the youth today is being misled because of so many factors. And we have a number of questions that we wanted to look at and also source out some information from you, sir, that could be beneficial for better living today, especially on the youth sector. So first and foremost, the youth are being faced with so many challenges in day-to-day life. And among that is the family, the background, the homes, relationships, and friendship. And we have seen that there have been a high rate of loss of direction in the youth today, more than a decade ago or 20 years ago and more. Okay, so I wanted us to just dive into what do you think could be the solution, or do you agree that families, relationship, friendship, and broken homes and so forth could be the reason why also the youth are being damaged in our day-to-day living?
Okay, I'll begin by saying the youth, teenagers, and young adults, as I refer to them, like every other age grade in the world today, is facing a lot of challenges. Everybody, the father, the mothers, the children. The world itself, it's a challenging place to live in. Okay, so challenges are not peculiar to youth or to young adults only. But it's just that what you become at a later age in life has to do with what you went through. Okay, and today we see these teenagers and these young adults, they are faced with a variety of problems. Like you said, some 2 decades ago, 3 decades ago, these things were not there or as rampant as they are now. Okay, so why the specifics can vary from one individual to another, probably because of the environment, the place where the person was raised, the family was born into. But generally, there are basic challenges that the youth, the young teenagers, the adults, young adult goes through today that cut across every sector, everywhere you find them in the world. Okay, and it ranges from home bringing to loss of identity to social media to a whole lot of things are included in it.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so on the few points that you have mentioned, could we just expand a bit regarding that's upbringing, right, which refers to homes and obviously the people that are responsible looking after kids today, and friendship, or maybe how school is affecting our kids today. Do we say there are factors that we should look into, things that have practically changed compared to a few years ago?
Okay, on that, I refer to it as family and friends challenges. Okay, every child, everyone is born into a family. And it is very important that we know as adults or as children that the home is the first point of existence of the child. The moment a child is born into this world, is born into a home, a family. There is a father, there is a mother, whether they are physically there or not, somebody gave birth to them. Okay, and so the home formed the basis, the foundation of where the child comes from. And psychologists agree that every child is born blank, with a blank mind. They refer to as a tabula rasa of the mind. It's blind, it's blank. There is nothing written on it. So that means everything the child becomes, he learns here. And the first point of learning of the child is the family. From the mother, from the father, from the siblings. Before we talk about friends. The child does not come having friends the first day, but there's a father and a mother he learns from. Okay? And so there are a lot of things they learn. They cope with conflict at home. You have children growing up who maybe may have not been physically abused, but their emotions have been abused. They've been psychologically distorted because of what they've been exposed to in the house, the lifestyle of the parents, the communication skill of the parents, how they relate with one another, what they do, what they say. A child witnessing a father violating the mom, it's a trauma. He or she may not be able to say anything at that age, but they grow up with it and it embedded in their subconscious. Okay, they experience those things, they experience separation, they experience divorce, and then they have to adjust to the current realities of every decision their parents make at every point in time. And of course, that is a challenge. And then you get children who, from that background, are damaged already, emotionally, psychologically, even before they are exposed to the outer world, even before they get to meet friends, even before they get to go to school, even before they get to start associating with peers. They are already damaged. There's already a status in them because of their upbringing. So parental association plays a vital role in the life of a child. The challenges in the family has a long way to go in affecting what the child becomes. Was the child born into a healthy home? Are they healthy not as in terms of medical health, but in terms of relationship, emotions? Is it a healthy home? Is it a stable family? Was the father always there? Was the mother always there? Do they understand the needs and the demands of this child, of raising a child? Or they just brought this child into the world for bringing sake? So those are some of the questions we must answer at the family level to ensure that before these children are released into the society, they are, at least from the home, a balanced child.
So speaking of homes and parenting, and you mentioned something very important, which is divorce, but I'm just going to put them all together. Parenting is a crucial part of our daily living today, because now as a parent, you might not have an idea, am I missing it or am I being right? On your personal level, what are the advices that you would give to a parent watching today? We don't want to go ahead of ourselves, but also after that, how do you think also divorce actually affects the upbringing of a child? Because obviously, the moment divorce happens, one parent is on the other side and the other on the other side. And the fact that a child comes on earth through two people, which means it also requires two people to raise that particular child. And then if the child is being raised with a single mom or a single dad, do you think, could that be the reason why also we don't have a full balanced the youth or the young adults, as you call them, in our day-to-day living? And how? What are some of the solutions that you could think that a parent watching today they can put in place?
Okay. Firstly, we must understand that parenting is not a status. It's not a title. It's not a position like the society, the world treats it today. We treat parents as an office. Being a parent to a child is like a status. It goes beyond just the name. Parenting is an assignment. It's a lifelong assignment, because children are like destinies committed into our hand. In the religious sector, we say parents are caretakers. You know what a caretaker is? It means something is handed into your custody. You have to account for it at every point in time. And it's also my personal belief that the outcome of a child tells to a very large extent how responsible the parent was. Parenting is an assignment, and until we begin to treat it as an assignment, because with an assignment, you are expecting you either pass or you fail. Not that if the child turns out well, then the parents has done well. If the child turns out bad, the parents have not done well. They don't have a role to play. It's an assignment. And with an assignment, you know, the outcome of the child is what determines whether you were successful or you failed as a parent. So we must move away from the status side and take it as a responsibility to know that we are to nurture this child in the proper way. Okay? And once that is done, once that assumption is removed, parents see parenting as an assignment, then we begin to deal with critical issues like divorce, like separation. It takes two to bring a child into this world. Definitely it will take two to raise that child. Back in the days when we were growing up, they say it takes a community to raise a child. Everybody has at least a certain level of impact in your life, an input. Somebody can correct you by the roadside. Somebody can see you and point you to the right direction. But today is no longer so. We get families that are broken, and a broken home automatically leads to a broken child, because money doesn't fix everything. Mommy can't fix everything. Daddy alone can't fix everything. It requires both parties. But when the home is broken, the father may move on fine. The mother may move on fine. But the one who never recovers from that brokenness are the children. And then you raise kids who become teenagers already broken. Kids who have never witnessed what it is to have disagreement and still have dinner. They grow up not knowing what it is to love, to hate, and to forgive. All they've seen, it's once it's full, we go our way. I can no longer take it, we move on. They've never seen a home where the father and the mother disagree and yet still sit at the same table and have dinner and have prayers together and attend family functions. They see a family that has ceilings. There is a limit to what I can take. If they exceed that limit, I'm done and I'm off. And by the time they have that mindset, they grow up hating what they see, but they can't help become it. They grow up disliking what they see, but they cannot help becoming it. Why? Because the mother, for example, takes out the frustration of the father on the children unconsciously. Or the father takes out the frustration, the rejection of the mother on the kids. The kids become the battleground. And so they are never balanced. It damages them from within.
Okay, sorry for cutting you. So what could be the better way of handling divorce and separation in the sector of, in the point of, in as much we are not together, in as much these two people are not together, how can they raise a child and the child still have a balanced life?
That's a very difficult task. It's a very difficult task, because once one is out of the home, it assumes you are out of the life. And from creation, we understand that God created everything by, for example, by speaking them into being. But when He came into the creation of man, He has to touch. He made. And so if you can't touch somebody, you can't affect the person. Words alone don't fix things. Instructions alone don't fix. Kids need to be able to see their parents saying what they do and doing what they say. Okay, so you instructing me from afar or writing some things, there are some things note cannot convey. There are some looks that are beyond writing. There are some expressions, bodily expressions that are beyond writing. Those things are missing. And with the maze of activities, You can't tell me that the parent is fully there. Because, for example, in a broken home, a divorced home, the mother has to live up to expectation. Probably while they were married, she was 40% on, but now the man is gone. He has to be 80 or 100% whole. The same thing with the man. And you agree with me, in a family where they put in 50-50 or 60-60, you have more time than in a family where this put in 100 and this put in 100 apart. It doesn't amount to much. So it becomes a difficulty raising that child. Granted, there are some of them who still comes out fine. There are some of them who still come out fine, but if you ask them, if you probe them, they will tell you that it took the grace of God for them to come out fine.
Wow. Moving forward, I want us to tackle a bit about human rights, because when I go to South Africa few years ago, that's when I find out that you can't even just touch your child anyhow. You can't lay your hands on a child. And where I'm coming from and my upbringing, it was rough. It was rough, and there's a level of alignment that that activity or that way of handling kids from my community, I could see that we are very different. Could we say that because the youth of today, especially in a country like South Africa, right? Do you think they'll behave in a certain way in a different sector because they know that they have the government backing them, or the human rights to say is on their side, that, okay, I can do whatever I want to do, even at home, if I want to go out? Because I even know that, I even heard there is emotional abuse, there is all kinds of abuse stated, verbal abuse, what do we call physical abuse, and so forth. So if anything is to happen, even a child has a right to say, I'll open a case against a parent. So do we think, could that be also a contribution to why the youth of today are behaving in a certain way?
Yes, it goes a long way to add to it. But I think in general, parents need to stand up to the government. Okay, because they don't have the discipline for a child. For example, you make laws that prevent a child from being flogged, but that same law put them in prison when they go wrong. The Bible said, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it. If I can't discipline a child, how do you tell a child what is right and wrong? It's discipline is far from what you read in a book. It's far from what we say with our mouth. There has to be a rod thing in it. There has to be strokes, so you can put the child where they belong at a certain age before they go out there and become too wild to bend. Granted, there are abuse. When you say, okay, parents can discipline their children, there are some parents who would abuse it. We can't write that off. But should we take the excessiveness of one or two parents out of 100 to make a rule that binds on the whole? That's the question the government needs to answer. Should the right of the child supersede the right of the parent who brought them into this world to teach them the way? Does the child know the difference between right and wrong, except he is taught? And how can you teach without discipline? If discipline is being criminalized, how do you teach a child without discipline? And because these children are not taught, they were not disciplined, they were not properly brought up, because you can't properly bring up a child without discipline. We have to say it the way it is. You cannot properly bring up a child without discipline. And so when discipline is out of the equation, they go out there and they behave the same way they would have behaved in their houses, thinking we can do anything and get away with it because we have rights. And then the same government comes and put them in jail. for the same thing they were going to hold their parents hostage for doing to the kids. Now you keep the child from the kid, and then you expose the child to prison cells. Which is better? For me to confine my child to a naughty corner in the house, or for him to end up in jail? Those are some of the questions parents need to rise up to and let the government answer.
Wow, what a profound statement. Thank you, sir. Okay, so looking at the youth watching today, let's tackle a bit on the vision and focus. Should we say the youth are behaving differently today because there's also a lack of vision and focus? Let's just go a bit into speaking about vision and focus and how important it is to a youth watching and listening today.
What a child is exposed to matters a lot. What they are exposed to, what they are taught, it matters a lot. Okay, a child coming from a home, entering into a society with children also from similar background like his, it's already a chaotic system. Okay, and then going through school and everything and coming up, eventually comes up not understanding what truly is their worth. Okay, I've interacted with a few kids at times, and you ask, like when you go to the suburb in South Africa, you ask a child there, what do you want to become? I'm telling you, 9 out of 10 of them will tell you, want to become a bus driver, or want to become a talk shop owner, or want to become a cashier at Pick and Pay or wherever, because that's what they've been exposed to. Because around there, you have not found a medical doctor, you've not found a lawyer, you've not found a businessman, you've not found engineers and those people. So it's what they've been exposed to. So their vision is limited because of what they've been exposed to. But the parents who have grown so much are not able to enforce some certain things on them because of so-called government laws. Okay, kids grow up and they have to make their own choice of career. They have to decide what to study and when to study. It becomes a challenge. But when we were growing up, our parents paint a vision before us. Granted, most of us did not become what that vision was, but in doing what they wanted us to do, we found what we were supposed to do. We did what they wanted us to do because we had no choice. We followed it to the letter because you miss it, there are consequences. And in following it, we found out our passion and then we followed. Eventually, we became something better that they also have to be proud of. But if they have not enforced those things, we may not have gotten to where we got to. So that is very important that parents paint a vision board for their children. Yes, the child has his own potentials. The child has their own skills. But parents should be able to identify these skills, these potentials, and put them in a vision board for the kid. So that the child is going to school, he already knows who I am. He already knows what I should be doing to get to where I'm going to. Eventually, the child might not become a medical doctor, in quote, if that's what the parent want the child to become. But in doing science, he's trying to become a medical doctor. He can become a computer expert. He can become an engineer. He can become something else. Yes. In following through to become a lawyer, he can become an artist. He can become an actor and actresses. They all interlinked. But if you don't paint the vision so high, the child may not be able to get there. What it says, the popular statement, aim for the peak. Aim for the hundreds. If you fall among the 80s. And only parents can give you that vision board of 100. At that early age, they go with it until they find out what they were supposed to.
So kids are not just sent to school to say, go learn. There should be a direction. As you're going to school, know that it's all about the vision and mission for you to become something. And for that, for you to become that, okay.
There is a goal. It's not just go to school and study. There is a goal. We guide you in line with the teachers also. That's why it's a school. Your parents relate with the teacher To say, okay, the teacher lets you know these are the areas of strength of the child. It reflects in their results. These are the areas of the strength of the child. You know how to guide the child properly towards that area. Not a child finishing grade 12. I've had cases of people who finished grade 12 and they said, okay, I don't want to go to school anymore. I've had cases of people, okay, who, because there was no proper guidance for them to know, okay, you need a code 7 or a code 6 to get into varsity, they ended up with a code 4. And then they came out and can't even get into varsity and can't do any other thing. And then they are stuck. But if there was a vision that says to become a medical doctor, you need code 7 in this and this and this subject, they work towards it. And then when they come out of secondary school, they can decide to say, no, okay, with my result, I can decide to go medicine, I can decide to go engineering, I can decide to go aeronautic, whatever it is. They have a whole wide field waiting for them after high school. But parents should be able to guide them through there.
Vision brings strength. Vision brings focus. Vision brings the drive. Thank you, sir, for that. What do you think are the effects of media today? There's a lot happening. Obviously, we want to tackle into both sides. So we want to look into the positive side. We want to look into the negative side. There's been a lot happening in regards to the media. The media is breaking our youth today. But on the same media, that's where we have resources for all manner of causes and school programs on the very same media. So let's look into the both sides of the coin in terms of how it will obviously affect the youth today.
Okay. Technology, so to say, it's good. In all sense of it, it's good. Okay, but with everything man-made, everything artificial, there are also disadvantages. But like I said, it still boils down to the foundation, the guidance. The internet is vast. You can't exhaust it. Okay, I said to my daughter at times, you can go to the internet and learn how to make a bomb. You can go to the internet and learn how to make a car, how to make an app. You can learn from the internet how to be evil. You can learn from the internet how to be good. But if we just expose the children to it without a guide, monitoring what they do, what they watch, what they see, what they hear, without showing them the way that they ought to follow, then they are exposed to everything. And it is quicker to gravitate towards evil than to gravitate towards good. Okay? It takes discipline to learn the good part of the internet. Like you said, there are short courses there that can make you better. It takes discipline to sit and learn those things. It doesn't require discipline to sit down and watch a movie or to do any other thing. It takes discipline to sit and learn and read and study. And who is to enforce the discipline? The parents should enforce that from childhood. But if it was not enforced, the child do whatever it is. So people have technology today and they do all manner of things with it. I learned from my 6-year-old boy that you can code files on your phone. I know you can do that on the computer, on the laptop. I didn't know it was possible on the phone. He's never been to a computer class. But they are tech savvy. It's what they are born into the era. But so you have to guide them, what they do, what they watch. You censor it. But if you just buy a gadget and give to a child and you put your Wi-Fi there, the child is exposed to a whole lot of things. There are advertisements you can't skip. It must play to the end before whatever you are playing has to play. And then they see these things. It creates an impression in their mind. It's not automatic. It's there. And then they struggle with their self-identity. Struggle trying to balance what they saw online with the happenings offline. When they come out from the internet, now they look out on the street. What they are seeing most times conflict with what they've watched, what they've seen. And then they struggle to balance it. And when there's nobody to go to for guidance, they want to execute in real life what they've seen on the internet. And that's why we've had kids take guns today and enter into school and begin to shoot people because they've seen it happen. Just the way we have people today who are kids who are making apps and all of that because they've seen it happen. The difference between the two of them is the guidance they receive in their exploration of the internet. So it still boils down to the home. Are we properly guiding our children towards a direction? If you've painted a vision, like we said earlier, you've painted a vision before your child that, okay, we need you to become a medical doctor, for example. You see that child coming back from school, always wanting to check from the internet things that are medically related, scientifically related, because that's the picture the parents hold before him. So when he gets out from the internet, what he sees before him, he can relate. But if there's no board, nothing to relate to, he's exposed to everything.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. So finally, let's look at the teenage relationships, obviously sexuality, sexual activities, that is to put it, and then teenage pregnancies today. Back in the days when you are under 20, 24, 25 or so, and you get pregnant, from where I'm coming from, it's like an abomination. And especially with the fact that you're not even married and then you even underage. There was a record that I heard about, I think a year plus ago, where a 13-year-old actually was pregnant. That is in Soweto, South Africa. Speaking of today's youth, do we say that we're not safe? And what could be the reason as to why we could be experiencing such an eruption in the youth of today?
Okay. Firstly, everything on earth today is treated as a contract. That's what is leading to breakdowns in so many sectors. Marriage is treated as a contract. Parenting is treated as a contract. Okay, child upbringing is treated as a contract. Everything is seen as a contract. But until families begin to rise up on some government decisions, there would always be some chaos that we cannot avoid. Okay, when you make a law in a country, for example, and make sex legal at an age of 13 or 14, what do you expect? A child who was not properly disciplined from the house can go out at 13 and come back at any time he or she likes. How do you control what he or she does outside? So that's another thing. We must stand to these laws. 13 is not a good law. It's not a good age for sex. The child doesn't know the difference between sex and getting pregnant yet. Yes, they've had the features, they've attained adolescence, they're still too young. The mind is still very young to absorb some of those things. It's still very young. So we need to understand those things and begin to start addressing them. At 13, most of them don't even know who they are yet. There's still identity crisis. There's still a whole lot of issues to deal with. And now then comes sex. And then we've made condoms and whatever it is readily available for them. And we're destroying a whole generation without knowing. We think it's freedom for them. But the question we must ask ourselves, and the government as well, is if these laws were in place while we were growing up, are we sure we would still have a society as of today? If the things we're seeing today, 16 years, single parenting, all manner, they have friends with benefit, they have no strings attached, we have all manner of relationships today. If it was so some 50, 60 years ago, if the president of this country, for example, was allowed to start having sex at 13, would he be able to rise to where he is today? If the vices we've legalized today in the society were legalized some 50, 60 years ago, are we sure we'll still have a society today? Because it's not just for now, it's after now. I spoke to a 13-year-old girl in grade 8. She's in grade 8. And she said she can't stop having sex. The partner she's having sex with is 20-year-old. She can't stop. Why? The partner caters for her and meets her needs. And so she can't stop. And she's already dreaming at 13 That she sees babies, they look cute, they're like angels, and she thinks she needs to bring one into the world. And I said to her, do you know what it costs to raise a baby? Are you happy the same way your parents raised you? She said no. So why do you want to bring one? Are you ready to raise a baby? Do you know what it is to cater for a child? You're not working, you're still in school, you're thinking of bringing in a child. All she knew is, I just love them the way they are cute. And so for the sake of cuteness, you bring in another one into your same circle. And then he's raised in that circle of abuse, emotional abuse, psychological abuse. So we need to look into it. Parents need to stand to the government on some things. My child have sex at 13, he would know he has seen something. Because you can't do it under my roof. I might sound off, but that's it. You can't be having sex at 13. Because even the person you're having sex with, you don't know who you are yet. The person doesn't know. You don't know anything.
There's no direction.
We evolve.
Yet.
You see people at 30 hating what they love the most at 20. You see people at 40 hating the partner they love so much at 20, at 30. Then you are 13 or 14 or 15 or even 18 when you're supposed to be in school, studying. So we need to look into some of these laws and take a firm stand against the government to say, no, not my child. Not my child. It shouldn't be in place. You can keep it out there, but don't bring it into this house. Until we begin to do that, an uprising against the government on some of these laws, there are some things we can't control.
I heard some I think it's a few months ago that even a child as age of 10 to 15 or whatever it is, they're even allowed to go and get the injection for what do we call to prevent pregnancy.
The official abortion age in this country is 13. 13. In Eastern Cape, not too long, we heard of a tavern that collapsed, and over about 8 or 9 or 10 people died there. About 16 people died there. The president even went for the funeral.
Place, yes.
And they were all underage, 13, 14, 15. What's a 15-year-old child doing in a tavern when you're supposed to be sitting with your books? But if you find that most of those children, the parents couldn't discipline them. Because at 15, I dare not move an inch out of what are you doing outside by 11? You're supposed to be with your book, your assignment, you're studying. You are planning for the life ahead. But at 15, you don't know any life ahead yet because there's been no foundation. And then we lost those generation of people because of government laws. The freedom to do whatever they have to do. It's not supposed to be so. Unrestrained freedom always has consequences. And the consequences are greater than the consequences of slavery. The consequences of the freedom we're enjoying now is going to be worse than what we suffered during apartheid. That's the plain truth.
I have no idea how that story ended, though a tragic story in the Eastern Cape. I think it was East London, actually. And do we also say that maybe we easy on, because now, what if the guy responsible, the guy who owns this club, now he's still back in the streets? What picture does that even paint to the community?
Yeah, of course, you'll be back in the streets. Yes, in the liquor shop, they say don't sell alcohol to people under 18. But how do I know you're under 18? How do I know you're under 18? Do I require you to bring your ID
before
I sell drinks for you? No, it's a business. I don't know you are 18 or I don't know you are 13. So you come in to buy, I sell for you. Because obviously you can't tell a 13 or an 18-year-old child from the looks. So you come in to buy, I sell for you. You come into the tavern, you sit, you drink, you pay. It's a business. You can afford it, you can have it. That's me, it's my business. But if there were laws, there were no laws that restrict the parent from disciplining their children. Most parents today who've made similar mistakes, if you interact with them, they will tell you that they regret their mistakes. But they cannot correct their child from making the same mistake because of societal laws. Most single parents today, those who got pregnant out of wedlock while they were still in school, tell you it was the most horrible time of their life. Many never moved on from it. Some were able to move. Many, it ended their life. If you interact with them, they'll tell you it's a regret they couldn't come out from. But how do you pass that message to the child without discipline? Like I said earlier, there are some things you can't just express with words. The Bible said, if you spare the rod, you spoil the child. So that brings me to another aspect on religion. We try to override it. We try to push it aside like it doesn't matter. But the truth is, religion has a long way to go if we must heal the society from the damages that have already been done to it. We must bring in the Bibles back again to classes, classrooms, back again to hotels, back again to offices. We must take them away from prisons and bring them. Now, if you go to the prisons, that's where you find Bibles. Bibles are no longer in classes. Now you stop the child
When
from
the West
reading
has
it
already
in
happened.
classes. You made laws that took Bibles out of the classes where the child could have learned it and be better. And then you put them in the prison houses where the mistakes are already been made. So
You could have avoided them.
it's like putting the cart before the horse. So we need to bring back some of those basics. Bring back some of those religion, the fear of God. Let it be there. It doesn't mean everybody has to be religious. Let that fear be there. That, okay, there is something called God. There is something called conscience. There is something as right and wrong. And there is something as discipline. Discipline is costly. Okay, Bishop David Oyedepo will say, that's my bishop, will say, there are two kinds of regret in life. The two kinds of pain. The pain of discipline and the regrets of indiscipline. So however we put it on the scale, the regret of indiscipline far outweighs the pain of discipline. So we must bring it back and begin to treat it as it is, to avoid our prisons being flooded with young men and women who should have been in school, who should have been in the forefront of industries, who should have been in science and technology, inventing and creating things. We must bring back the basics so we can bring them out from prison at an early stage and let them become great.
Wow. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today. And I hope on the subjects and on the other factors that we are not able to tackle today, we should be able to do on the next episode. And thank you for joining us, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
To everyone viewing us, thank you for being part of this program. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today. And I hope on the subjects and on the other factors that we are not able to tackle today, we should be able to do on the next episode. And thank you for joining us, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
To everyone viewing us, thank you for being part of this program. Please share and comment and bring in some more questioning and information that will be beneficial to the youth today. Thank you, and thank you so much. Bye-bye.